I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. And that involves bringing in a lot of platforms. One of the first things I did in trying to modernize how we operate is migrated us from a technology. It was a physical server, remote desktop environment. And I got us over to a Microsoft SharePoint Teams. So now we work predominantly remotely. So me and my other full-time employee can just instant message each other, where before it was we had to attach a document to an email and send it over. Well, now with SharePoint, we can send a link and we can instant message each other. And that has just created huge efficiencies in our operational processes. So to address your question about prioritizing, you just got to look at what's on your plate for the day and determine what's most important. In my mind, it's getting the programs up and running, because those are what drives revenue and drives member value. That's our member value proposition.
This is Associations Thrive, the podcast celebrating successful associations and their leaders. I'm your host, Joanna Pineda, CEO and Chief Troublemaker at Matrix Group International. Listen in as top association executives tell all, revealing the creative and innovative ways they're increasing membership, generating revenue, nurturing engagement, and reimagining their organizations. By the way, if you've launched a new initiative, created new member services, or updated your governance structure and are seeing great results, I want to hear your story, and so do my listeners. I'd love to have you as a guest. Go to podcast.matrixgroup.net and apply to be on Associations Thrive. Now let's dive into this week's show. Today, I'm speaking with Gwyn Donohue, Executive Director of American Subcontractors Association, Metro Washington, or ASAMW. Gwyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Honored that you'll have me on the show.
Well, Gwyn, tell us about ASAMW.
ASAMW is the first and founding chapter of the American Subcontractors Association. We were incorporated in 1964. We represent subcontractors, suppliers, and service providers that serve the commercial construction industry across Maryland, Virginia, and DC.
Let's dive into this a little bit. So I know about general contractors, but your members are subcontractors. So who are they?
Yes, we are the kind of the backbone of your commercial construction project. So the general contractor is who brings all the moving parts together. Our members are those moving parts. They're the guys who are doing the masonry, putting, the brick on the side of the building, who are doing the HVAC, who are doing the demolition, debris removal, putting the scaffolding up on the side of the building. They're basically what makes the project happen.
Now, you say that you're the founding member of the American Subcontractors Association. What does that mean?
So I believe we existed before the national organization did. And some of our members, along with, from what I understand, it was before my time, which I'm happy to say, there was an association in Baltimore, an association in DC, and they got together and decided to start the national organization.
So both ASAMW and the American Subcontractors Association are here in the DC area. So if you're, say, an HVAC contractor, which do you join and how do you join?
So you would join the local chapter. The national organization doesn't have members. The local chapters do, and then we pay dues to the national organization.
I see. So if I'm an HVAC contractor, I join ASAMW and then the membership rolls up.
Exactly. And you get benefits from both.
All right. Well, I got a lot of questions about ASAMW. But before we do that, let's turn to your journey. So how do you get to become executive director of ASAMW?
Well, I have decades of experience in associations and mission-driven organizations, as well as a focus. I've kind of had two focuses in my career, animals and the kind of housing construction industry. Everything from National 4-H Council to Pet Advocacy Network to I spent 12 years at the National Association of Home Builders, where I ended running the Remodelers Council. So basically it was a council within the larger umbrella organization, but it was very similar to an executive director role, in that I was responsible soup to nuts for everything serving the remodeler members of the association.
So, Gwen, two big themes, animals and homes, very different. And you've had multiple jobs in those two areas. How do you bounce back and forth? And how do you, I guess, gain the expertise and the knowledge to bounce back and forth? They're quite different.
They are, but I've always felt, especially I came more out of the communications marketing and then grew into membership roles. That's where the skill set lays, is being able to write a press release or a blog post or web content. And all you have to do is learn who the audience is and what their interests are and what sort of messaging is going to resonate with them. And the same on the membership side. You just got to learn what the members' needs are, because as a trade association, that's what your purpose is to serve their needs and empower them to elevate their businesses.
So you joined ASAMW last July 2025. How do you go about getting to know the industry? What's your process?
Mostly it's talking to the members. I wouldn't say there's anything online you could go learn, but it's talking to the members and just seeing what their priorities are. We have both our members who are subcontractors, and we also have a GC partner program with the general contractors. So that's not a membership category, but we partner with them and we host events called GC Partner Meet and Greets, where it's an opportunity for our members to come into that GC Partners facility and meet them and establish the relationships, because construction is all about relationships. You want to trust who you're working with. You want to know that they're going to show up on the job, that they're going to pay their bills, that it's going to be a successful partnership. So it's really a relationship-driven type industry.
Gwen, is this your first chief staff exec job?
It is.
So what's that been like? And why'd you make the jump? Why'd you decide I'm ready to take on being the top dog?
I think I had earned my certified association executive credential, my CAE.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was quite an endeavor, though. I'm very proud of earning that. And I felt that gave me the foundation I would need to be a chief staff executive. And that was part of the reason I did it, is to grow my career in that direction. I have to say, actually getting into a role, and especially for a small association, the number of hats you wear was a big surprise and a big challenge, because we're a very small staff. We're 2 people, and then we supplement with 2 full-time staff. We supplement with contractor help, to fill the gaps. But you're everything. I'm HR, I'm accounting, I'm member services, I'm marketing, I'm program development, I'm education. You've got to do everything. And the big surprise is mostly the HR and the accounting and all the administrative, logistical things that you have to do there. Everything from choosing a healthcare plan to figuring out how to pay your bills.
Oh my God, Gwen, you're doing all that with 2 staff?
Yes.
Talk to us about that. So you joined last July 2025, I think, because the former executive director retired. Then what do you do?
So we did have a staff person on then who had also been there 12 years. Same with the executive director. She left about 5 weeks into the role. So,
oh my God. So it's just you?
Yeah. 5 weeks in, it was just me. So,
do you even know where the bathroom is at that point? Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a lot of digging. And, I am so grateful for a very engaged membership base and very active committee chairs. And a lot of them have been involved for a long time. So I've definitely relied on them to say, well, what did you do in the past? And how was this handled? But I think that was the biggest challenge, is there's no operational manuals, there's no guides. So every single time something comes up, it's not just, oh, okay, let me refer to this to learn how to do it. It's, oh, okay, we have to do that. Well, how do I do that? Who do I call? Well, it's a lot of figuring things out. So I'm very much looking forward to year 2 when I have a full year under my belt of everything, and I can refer back to what we did and then continue to improve.
Gwen, how do you even do that if both people who used to work at the organization left? How do you even know how to run the gala?
Yeah, the gala, we had the Subby Awards. Gala is our marquee event. That's the biggest event of the year. I would have to say it probably consumed our lives starting in October of last year. And we just finished it on March 7th, a couple weeks ago, because that's both an awards program and a gala event. So first we had to get the awards off the ground and the voting, and it's a complicated, you get nominees, and then the nominees are narrowed down to finalists. And then there's a reception for the finalists to celebrate them. Then the membership votes on the finalists for the winners, and those are who is celebrated at the gala. The gala is about 450 people. We held it out at the McLean Hilton. And it's, again, you rely on what the committee members that had participated before knew. We also hired an event planner.
That makes sense. So if you had no idea what was happening with the subby gala, you could rely on the members to ask, how did this go?
Right. And, it's part of my focus this year is making sure everything keeps running, but making slight incremental improvements and tweaks. So I think hiring the event planner was great. One of the things, we had all the volunteers show up on Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we were done with everything we actually needed to do hands-on in an hour and a half. So we didn't need to be that early.
Wow.
But in the past, they always had. They had put together the centerpieces themselves, and they had done everything themselves. But in hiring the event planner, that was a big help. She really helped facilitate things and kept me out of the weeds of those decisions about, well, how many chairs around each table? I think the biggest challenge with the gala was the seating. The gala has been around for 62 years, as long as we have, and everyone is very set in their ways that they want a table.
Oh my God, the seating meeting, the meeting to decide where everyone's going to sit. You need a committee for that, right?
Yeah. And invariably what I expected and happened is we'd have people come in the last week and, we bought 3 tickets, but we want 2 more and we want them to sit with us. So the moving parts there are incredible. So I will continually be looking for ways to improve that.
Gwen, I am full of admiration for you. I was in New York last week. I was with my son, and we went to visit a client. It's a national association, and he found out that they have 6 staff. When we walked out of the restaurant, he said, "Mom, how are they running this organization with 6 people? And they run a conference and they put on programs and they're just putting out a new certification?" I said, yeah, it's amazing what these small organizations do. Gwen, how do you prioritize all this and juggle all the calls from the members? I mean, seriously, what's a day like and how do you manage it?
Yeah, it takes a village. I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. And that involves bringing in a lot of platforms. One of the first things I did in trying to modernize how we operate is migrated us from a technology. It was a physical server, remote desktop environment. And I got us over to a Microsoft SharePoint Teams. So now we work predominantly remotely. So me and my other full-time employee can just instant message each other, where before it was we had to attach a document to an email and send it over. Well, now with SharePoint, we can send a link and we can instant message each other. And that has just created huge efficiencies in our operational processes. So to address your question about prioritizing, you just got to look at what's on your plate for the day and determine what's most important. In my mind, it's getting the programs up and running, because those are what drives revenue and drives member value. That's our member value proposition. One of the new things I've implemented this year is webinars are always free for members. And we have the replays behind the firewall, so the members can log in and access a replay on demand. And that was something that never existed before. We've also adjusted our pricing so that the member value proposition is more apparent. We have a 6-session project manager workshop, and it was always priced the same, whether you are a member or not.
Oh.
Yeah, I said, no, we're going to bump it up $200 for non-members. And one of the members who ran it said, well, nobody that's not a member ever joins. And I'm like, even better, because then the impression of the members is they're getting something for their membership. I don't care if we don't make revenue from non-members. I want the members to think they're getting something.
Absolutely. And if they already weren't registering, increasing the price isn't necessarily going to change the equation.
Exactly. And we even had somebody join because they had 2 people they wanted to participate in the program, and they weren't members, and they knew they'd save $400 off their membership if they joined before they registered for the program.
Wow. So how is membership?
Membership is growing.
Fantastic.
We have leaned heavily into our digital presence, And our LinkedIn is going great guns. And almost every new member who joined said, well, you're all over LinkedIn. So we're really getting our visibility out there and the value proposition. We're recognizing our sponsors. We're promoting our programs and the fact that a lot of them are set for the members. We're doing a lot more networking events that are also being promoted on the digital platforms, mainly LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram, not so much, but LinkedIn is where the construction community lives. So we are definitely getting more members. We're gaining momentum. And I really hope to drive that even further after I get the first year under my belt and far into the future.
Well, it sounds like you came in without a playbook and you had to invent the playbook. And I guess that's good and bad, right? If you have to create it, then you're bringing to ASAMW a lot of really great ideas. I want to take us back to something that you actually talked about during the prep, which is related to reinventing the organization. And that is, you said that governance was a mess. What does that mean? Sounds like that's something that you had to fix too.
Yeah, they had really gotten away from governing to the bylaws. The bylaws first had not been updated since 2011, which is a long time ago in the current fast-moving environment. And there's a bylaws committee that is a standing committee mandated in the bylaws that had not been formed and not been active at all. So we've formed them. They are now evaluating the bylaws and making sure they're in compliance with the ASA national bylaws and the chapter charter. I know I sound like a broken record sometimes in board meetings because people will bring stuff up and I'll be, no, the bylaws say this. So that was one of the first things I had to do is kind of know the bylaws inside and out.
And what kind of reaction do you get when you say the bylaws say this and you can't do that?
They are very appreciative.
Ah, okay.
Because I think that was never something that was brought up before. If you're not governing the bylaws, that creates all sorts of organizational risk, even, from your insurance and protection against any sort of lawsuits. So I think they are very appreciative of what I bring to the table as far as knowing about governance practices. A lot of that I gained at the National Association of Home Builders, running meetings with Robert's Rules of Order, making sure your minutes are something that also mitigates risk and is something that can be part of the public record. I think they really appreciate that I'm bringing that to the role as executive director.
Gwen, what does 2026 look like? Give us an overview of the things that you're doing this year.
I think I'm trying to establish a cadence for our programming. We had not really done simply networking events. We want to do those quarterly. We want to do some sort of educational event every month, whether it be a webinar or something in person. I think elevating the member value. We've got our standard 2 golf tournaments a year and the Sub-E Gala, which is really important. One of the things we did this year with the gala is it had always been awards for general contractors. There were a couple for subcontractors.
Even though you're ASAMW.
Exactly. This year it was a 50-50. We increased the number of categories for subcontractors. We really increased the promotion of it, and the nominations doubled, which was great. It caused a little bit of issues with the budget when we did the nominees reception, because all of a sudden I said, well, we've got twice the number of nominees this year. But it really made for a great event. I sent a survey out because, again, you got to listen to your members. And a lot of the feedback is it was great having awards for the subcontractors. It was just such an opportunity for the community to come together and celebrate what makes commercial construction excellent.
Before we go, do you have a specific goal that you want to have achieved by your first anniversary?
I'd like to say survived.
Good goal. But it sounds like you're thriving.
Yeah.
So you're not just surviving.
No, I really want to elevate this organization to where its potential is. I want to grow year after year. I don't want to maintain status quo. I really want to focus on increasing the non-dues revenue so we can implement more programs and really drive more member value and serve the members, elevate their businesses, increase their knowledge, strengthen the future.
Gwen, I'm going to have you back because I know that in the next year, you'll have reinvented the organization again and done amazing stuff. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. Let's have you back.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Associations Thrive. We're so glad to have you here. You know, my personal mission and the mission of my company, Matrix Group International, is to help associations and nonprofits increase membership, generate revenue, and thrive in the digital space. I want to hear stories of how your organization is thriving in today's challenging landscape. Please apply to be on my show by going to podcast.matrixgroup.net. By the way, do you need help with a digital initiative? Maybe it's a website redesign, a new membership database, or a hybrid meeting that you're planning. I'd love to connect with you. Please visit the Matrix Group website at matrixgroup.net. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Associations Thrive. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a 5-star rating, post a comment, and share it with your colleagues and friends.